I've been a paranormal investigator for well over a decade now, and there for a while I kind of fell out of it. You know, it just got to the point where it was like, what is it gonna do if I capture another voice, another object moving, or another apparition? What is it gonna do for me? What is it gonna do for the field? When I look around at the paranormal field, you know, one of the things that really got me out of it was all this sensationalism. And it's like we're erasing the history just to make things spooky or scary. I feel it's important to tell the true stories of these people, of the history of these locations, so that they can live on. But to do that, we have to uncover the true stories, these dead chronicles that have gone away and largely been replaced by forgotten memories, or all too often the paranormal sensationalism. This is about compassion and love. It's about bringing these people back to life so that their stories can be told, their messages can be told, and that they can live on.
Just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, lies a small college town by the name of Oxford. Within this city is an important part of American history, seemingly forgotten to time. Join me as I investigate the Nike missile base and open up the first chapters of the Dead Chronicles.
As a paranormal investigator, there are a few places that you never turn down the chance to investigate. Prisons, asylums, hospitals, but I never thought I'd get the chance to go and investigate a military base. I was quick to jump to the opportunity to travel down to Oxford and visit the Nike missile base. Places like this combine two of my favorite things: history and spooky stories. Many of these sites popped up all over the United States during the Cold War era when fears of nuclear conflict with the Soviet Union rose. These sites housed anti-aircraft missiles named Nike after the Greek goddess of victory and were tasked with protecting major cities from aerial attacks. The Nike missile base in Oxford was meant to oversee Cincinnati and Dayton. It was in operation from March of 1960 until March of 1970. Present day, it's privately owned, and interestingly enough, it's transformed into a seasonal haunted attraction. I heard a few claims about this property, but the things that interested me the most were the claims that their animatronics would go off on their own, even when there was no power running to them. Some of the scare actors who worked at the haunt refused to stay in certain areas for prolonged periods of time. To get to the bottom of what may be going on here, I had the opportunity to sit down with the owner and some of the employees of the haunt to hear their claims and personal experiences firsthand before starting my investigation.
My name is Jesse Von Stein. I purchased this property about 2.5 years ago. I purchased it from a gentleman out of Texas. We have purchased it to put in a park, do tours of the facility, and do a haunted event during the months of September and October. My daughter is an amateur ghost hunter. She comes in here, she does her thing. I am a skeptic, so of course I'm laughing. She comes up with a gentleman named Alex, and she comes up with another gentleman named Philip. So I, of course, laugh at her. At that point, we bring in some real folks like you guys, and my daughter is not here at the moment, and they're talking to this entity, ghost, whatever you want to call it, in this building here. And they ask it its name, and it says Alex, and my daughter's nowhere around, and they hadn't communicated about Alex at this point. So at that point, there was some butthole pucker.
One of the first nights that I had ever come up here with Bailey, we had the plan to do our own paranormal investigation, like, you know, with the EMF detectors and the spirit boxes and all that. Our plan was to stay the night. That did not end up happening. We left at about midnight. We called it quits because of just how much stuff was happening that kind of creeped us out. We made the mistake of trying to set up camp in Alex's room. He did not like that.
I get on the spirit box. I sometimes will just like have it going while I'm doing stuff in that room. And his favorite, he likes to call me a crazy bitch, and a light flickered that has not worked since the 60s, and that happens quite often in there. We also had it flicker when my friend was in the Estes method, and the spirit box said, "Get out," and I said, "No," and it said, "Get out," and I said, "I'm not leaving," and the lights flickered, and we had an animatronic phone in there for a long time. We actually had to take it out because it was going off so much. It doesn't go off unless you pick it up, but it would just keep going and going and going. And then I saw Philip once, I think it was Philip. I was sweeping out a room in the 3rd building, and I turned and saw a little kid dart past the hallway.
I've had a few instances with Philip. Definitely the cat balls, the things being kind of moved a little, like the door being slightly open and whatnot.
We were working in the clown room, 3rd building, right on the last room, and it was a normal day. The whole day was completely fine, and out of nowhere, the door to exit slowly closes.
We also had somewhat of an experience in the hospital scene, the former armory. We had a Reagan Exorcist animatronic that is, I believe, motion activated. And we were sitting in here doing some filming, I think, and we hear the Exorcist thing go off. No one was in that room.
The Reagan animatronic they were talking about, he actually turned it off, took out the batteries, just completely killed it because it kept on going off, and the head actually kept spinning.
The shower, we get a lot of activity in there. We had a group of investigators come in, and like I said, I usually just let them do their own thing. I came back in the room and they were lighting candles and making ash lines, and I was like, what? I didn't know what they were doing. I don't know what they did. They were kind of done by the time I got back in there, and they were like, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine." But after that, the girl who instigated it, she had a mic around her neck, and it got ripped off, it broke in two. And then she ran outside screaming, and she showed us, and she had 3 scratch marks on her neck, and I'm like, I told you were gonna piss whatever was in there off, but you didn't listen.
Before starting the investigation, I decided to try something that I've never done before, and that's consult a psychic medium. I'm extremely skeptical on people who claim to be psychic or mediums. However, Mark came to me highly recommended by people who I look up to and trust as investigators. The one thing that kind of sold me on him was the fact that he wanted to know nothing about the locations beforehand and didn't even want to know where I was going. But yet he was still able to draw pretty accurate maps of each location. I did a video chat with him and went through the location. A few days prior, he actually spoke about this room behind double doors. And when we got there, we found this room and a few interesting things followed.
Go to the left a little bit. Let's see. Just face.
That thing is off. The power's off. How is that thing on?
Because the person is standing if you're looking at it, to the right. That's there.
Hold on. There's no way that's battery powered, right?
Talking to yes. Okay, ask questions of him and let me see. Who are you? Ooh, chill. Where that says party time?
Yeah.
Is standing right there with his arm on the clown. Oh, that's funny.
Is that?
All right. What is your name with the L or the G? Okay, L. His name begins with an L. Kind of like Ellen Luther kind of thing. All right. He's there to scare you.
Ooh, I'm at 10%.
He's strange. You've never been a clown like me before, and you never will again.
Why?
Have you ever been in this building before?
As soon as my phone dies,
We'll see you at the last laugh.
as soon as my phone starts to die. Oh man. Yes, we have been in this building a little bit earlier.
Bet you didn't have this interaction at all.
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Well,
At this point, Mark told me that he heard someone telling me to come closer. So as I walked into the room, I was fully anticipating the clown going off again. Assuming it was motion activated, I knew it would as soon as I got closer. But strangely, it did not.
what I'm hearing is come a little closer.
God dang it.
We'll see you at the last laugh.
Oh man. He is fantastic. Alright.
Oh my.
I need to get my phone charger. We need to come back here.
Okay, he'll let you go charge your phone.
I walk out and it doesn't go off. I've got nothing for that.
Okay, that's funny.
Oh man. That is one of the biggest claims out here. And there's no power in there. We turned all the power off.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to call the people and ask them.
It's motion detectable,
Yes.
but it would be going off all the time.
Correct.
Yeah. So, that was his loser.
All right.
He wanted to scare you a little.
He did very well.
But you got that on film?
Yes.
That's a sound word.
Literally right before we called you, I told her, I said, if one of those goes off while I'm in there, I'm pissing myself.
Well, he says, piss yourself.
Right.
He says, you can thank me later.
Right.
That's what he said.
After getting off the phone with Mark, I threw my phone on the charger and went back to the building to make sure the power was off. After discovering the power was indeed off, I took a closer look at the clown and found that there was a battery pack in the back of it. This explains how it was going off, but not completely why. And while I was removing the batteries from this particular clown, another one went off for the first time since I had been there, and it was 2 rooms away. There was nobody else there, and I cannot explain how it had gone off, but I'm still not ready to chalk it up as something paranormal.
You've never met a clown like me before, and you never will again. We'll see you at the last laugh.
Yeah,
What caused that to go off?
I don't know.
You've never met a clown like me before, and you never will again.
We are gonna go to Alex's room through stuff, and then we went out, took all the batteries out of all the clowns, stationary camera running where Mark said we might be able to catch a shadow figure. We're going to set up in here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and start rolling audio. And we're rolling audio on the Tascam Spatial. I'm going to start rolling on this old tape recorder for really 2 reasons. Reason number 1, this is an old place. They're probably a little more used to these than digital recorders. Number 2, I've always been curious It's supposedly electromagnetic energy. Can they manipulate magnetic tape? I don't know. Alright, if there's anyone in here, my name's Austin. Came quite a ways to talk to you, hear your story, see what's going on. Understand there might be a man named Alex here. That's what we're told. If there's anyone here, you can speak in the device on the table over here next to the light, or something you might recognize a little better, this tape recorder over here. You can speak into it, we can hear you later. Alex, if you're here, can you give me some sort of sign? Knock on something? Toss something? Maybe move one of these coat hangers that are hanging up? Anything to let me know you're here. I hear you do not like women. Can you maybe tell me why? Did your wife leave you? Were you an incel? Probably doesn't know what that means. Alex, we also hear you don't like people in here. Well, if that's true, can you give us a sign? Maybe we'll leave. I literally get nothing in here. I feel nothing. Like, this is as nothing as it gets in that place. There's a cow, so we have that. We definitely have cows. There's some cow activity. But not of the paranormal variety. Alright, we're rolling audio inside of Philip's room. I know there was a cat ball that supposedly still worked. This one works, so we'll put this right in the middle of the circle. Since they say he likes to play with it, we'll see what we can get. Alright, Phil. If you're in here, can you maybe set off that cat ball for me? Let me know you're here. I heard you like to play with them. Can you tell me who it was that opened the door earlier? Happened twice.
While setting up for the investigation, the door in between what is known as Philip's room and armory had opened on its own twice. I set up a motion camera on it for the rest of the night, but it never opened again.
That was you. You're not in any sort of trouble or anything. We actually really appreciated that. And we'd really appreciate it if you could do it again. I know it's asking probably a lot. But we'd love to see it. I heard that Philip goes to sleep probably around 10 o'clock. Is that true? If it is, and if we're keeping you up, just let us know. Give us a sign. Knock on something. Set off the cat ball. Throw the cat ball at me. And we'll leave you alone and let you get back to sleep. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Why would there be a little boy here? Like, there definitely would have been when it was a military base, and that's all it ever was. So why would you have a little boy here? really wondering if it's a combination of people just freaking themselves out and then potentially the energy of the haunt season hanging around. So this would have been the armory. They would have kept their weapons, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's now a hospital. Let's set this audio recorder over here. Just because that's where someone said something. Is there anyone in the armory? Is this where all the munitions are stored? Can you tell me what you think about them taking this and turning it into a haunted attraction? Do you like the fact that there's so many civilians coming in here? Dressed up in costume, scaring kids? Do you like that? Are you okay with that? Do you enjoy seeing people here? I just literally don't feel anything. The only time that I felt anything in here was when the strobe lights were going and all this, you know, the music and everything.
When I first arrived to the base, the owner and employees were doing a test run of the haunted attraction. When I went into the armory, they had all the strobes and loud music going to make sure that everything was working properly before the haunt season started. I was only there for maybe a few minutes and I began feeling extremely dizzy, anxious, nauseous, to the point where I thought I might get sick or even pass out, which is something that never happened to me. With all the wires, cables, and power running through that room, there's a very high EMF, and mixed with the strobes, it undoubtedly had an effect on both my body and my psyche. Only being there for a few minutes before I had to leave the room, I can only imagine the effects that it may have on the actors who spend the entire night in this room. And so I'm left to believe that a lot of what the employees experience in here during the haunt season might be attributed to that.
Which makes sense. That's what those things are designed to do. So when people come in here and when actors have, you know, experiences or whatever, how much of this is paranormal and how much of it is just your brain reacting to the fact that you're in a situation where, I mean, this whole place is designed to trick you into being scared. So it would make sense that there very well might not be anything paranormal here. I don't know. I've yet to experience anything at this point to make me feel otherwise, but I don't know. It's just now that all the smoke and mirrors are out of here, I feel nothing. Like I could literally sleep in this bloody bed right now. It's that comfortable. So, I don't know. I think it might be just a case of people reacting to their surroundings. It's like, I don't know. Like, I felt like this would be really creepy investigating in this place. Because, you know, you got stuff like this just hanging around corners. But I'm surprised how non-creepy it is. Now, that's the one that they claimed sometimes goes off. We've not heard it go off yet today. I'm going to walk by. Didn't go off. Didn't go off. Didn't go off. But But, who knows?
While I was in the base room, I left a few stationary cameras rolling. The one that was right outside the room I was in, it seemed to capture a few odd voices. To me, it seems as if someone was listening in on the conversation I was having and is agreeing with whatever I was saying. I decided to wrap up the night in the showers, where it was claimed that the woman was attacked and had her microphone ripped off her. After not having a whole lot of activity or paranormal experiences that entire night, I decided my best chances to be able to experience or document anything would be to go here and try to provoke. I typically stay away from provocation out of my respect for not only the location, but those who still may reside there. But just like in everyday life, if there's someone out there who's attacking people and women, I tend to lose all respect for them, and my interactions with them become slightly less welcoming and respectful.
That would suck if you just peed straight blood. I think you probably need to go see a doctor after that. I could have sworn I heard a voice. It said, hey. Showers. They claim some spooky stuff goes on. Can you, give us a sign that you're here? Knock on something, throw something. Talk to us. You also have this device on the ground you can talk into with the red light. If you're in here, I heard that you supposedly ripped a microphone off of a woman and then you scratched her. Can you tell me that's true? If it is, why'd you do it? You know, you may have been able to do it to her, but I guarantee you, you don't have the guts to do it to me. This is your invitation. I'm asking you to try. Unless you're too afraid, unless you're too weak, too much of a coward. Now that there's a man in here, why don't you try? I got the cord of my mic hanging out. Got skin exposed. Why don't you come on out? Maybe you're just too weak for that. So how about you try something else? You got these doors around here. You can shut one, right? You gotta be at least strong enough for that. I would hope. You got stuff in here you can throw at me. You push me down. Or do nothing.
I spent the next hour in the showers trying to elicit a response from whatever may be in there. I was unable to come up with any further evidence or personal experiences. So at that point, I decided it was time to wrap it up for the night and head home to go over all the evidence that I had captured.
After getting back home, the interactions with the clown did stick with me. I was ready to accept that what had happened was not paranormal, but I still need an explanation as to why it seemed to go off randomly and also sometimes almost on cue. I decided to call up two of my great friends and fellow investigators to review the footage with me and help me come up with some sort of explanation.
So, obviously, I want to say you're just being set off, but here are the odd things that kind of bug me. Mark mentions that this thing had its arm around this clown. Mark didn't know, I didn't know that this thing is touch activated. So that struck me as weird to begin with. And the fact that he called this clown out. The other things that strike me as odd is my phone dies, we get a cold spot, and then right after that, it goes off. And it seems like it's almost in response to the things that are being said. And the other thing that bugs me is the fact that I walk in the room, I walk out of the room, towards it and away from it, and it doesn't trigger. So what the hell's going on?
So I got two thoughts while watching that. There are electronics that have a demo mode. And sometimes, especially electronics like that, is the switch on like a demo mode where it goes off at random times, and you know what I'm saying, maybe one time it's 3 minutes, maybe one time it's 5 minutes, maybe one time it's 7 minutes. Is there some kind of like timer mode, because it is a haunted house that you walk through, right, that it's not predictable?
Good question. So let me stop you there. So that video continues on for probably about another 40 minutes where we're looking down the hall and he's talking about down the hall. That thing never went off again until he brought attention to that room and we focused on that room.
Also, another thing that came to mind watching the video was a lot of electronics in the batteries are dying. So what kind of battery is it running off of? I mean,
it was running off double A's.
Well, sometimes electronics will randomly go off and the batteries are dying.
Right.
So, I mean, if something's too good to be true, it probably is. You know, especially with setting something like that off multiple over and over and over. Just as an investigator, it's hard enough to get them to set off a motion sensor on anything, any kind of motion sensor we have, motion light.
Exactly.
Music box, anything like that. So to have a spirit that's setting this thing off multiple times, almost on command, there's something else going on there, I just think.
What's interesting is like he's on the phone with the psychic and pulses of energy, which could probably trigger this thing to go off. I mean, if you ever had your phone and you're getting text messages, your meters would go off because it's sending out signals, and those signals could possibly be triggering the clown to go off, because phones will throw certain signals out and it'll set off certain devices like REM pods, K2 meters, all that stuff. It kind of plays into that, you know what I mean?
Just like a walkie-talkie will set off a REM pod.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seemed like when he was talking, maybe the phone was throwing off some kind of impulses and, pulses of energy and signals. And
that makes sense to me, because if you think of like, I have a touch faucet in my kitchen and it detects your EMF coming off your body, like touch sensitivity. So if that thing goes off with touch, then why wouldn't it be sensitive to other EMF fields? I'm with John on that. That's a good point, John.
I never thought of that. That
you
makes
got like a touch lamp or anything that you touch that goes on, it's going off of your EMF coming off your body. And then if you take into account the employees are saying it goes off regularly, well, they're using walkie-talkies and things like that in a haunted house, and they probably have their cell phones on, and
when we talk about how it came, in response to questions, well, that would make sense, because the question's being asked, it's being streamed to me from Mark's phone.
Yep.
So, we're getting that signal interaction, and then boom, it will go off. And just like you talk about the whole walkie-talkie and a K2, when you do, or not a K2, a REM pod, when you do that, there's always like a 2 to 3 second delay before that REM pod goes off. And that's exactly what we see here. We see him say something, and then a couple of second delay, and then there it goes. Like,
I think we got it.
Yeah, and holy crap. And at the same time, like I'm not debunking Mark. There may be a spirit element there.
Right.
But as serious investigators, we have to throw out anything that we can debunk,
Exactly. Yeah, we can't go off of what we believe. It has to be what we find.
And not to say that there's not, because we think that, one of the theories is that spirits use EMF, right? That's why we have EMF detection equipment. And not saying that it's not a spirit, but we're, how me and John are, and even you, Austin, if you can debunk it in a scientific way, then you kind of pull it out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I did not believe that this was paranormal, but there was some sort of explanation that I couldn't figure out because it definitely wasn't motion. The other video I have, we can pretty much skip at this point because it was me going in and finding out that it was battery powered. But as I walked up to it, it didn't go off. The only way we could get it off, we got to go off once by jumping up and down as hard as we could. And then eventually it went off. So it was like this thing was dang near impossible to set off unless you touch it.
Yeah. But
now when you say cell phones or walkie-talkies, that makes a little bit more sense because these people are saying, the one guy said, yeah, this one day it happened and it hadn't happened in months. Well, maybe he was just passing by when he got a text message or something like that. That would make sense. It wouldn't be just that they had cell phones or walkie-talkies on them. Something else had to happen at that time. You either had to be on the phone or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it would light up.
Yeah, he could have got a random text message because we've had it happen. Guys, that's why I would like to tell a lot of guys to leave their cell phones, out in their car or whatever when they're investigating, because it will set off your equipment if you're using it.
Viking Missile Base in Oxford is a really interesting location. Although I didn't have very many experiences and I wasn't able to capture any evidence to make me believe that it's haunted beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's always great to be able to spend time in historic locations. The high EMF and just the atmosphere of the place very well can be simply playing tricks on people's minds. After all, this is what haunted houses are built to do. I also think there very well could be something with the haunt season, and opening this place up as a haunted attraction might have something to do with it. I couldn't help but to realize that many of the claims tend to line up with the haunted house itself. A man named Alex works tirelessly and hates to be disturbed in a room that has a large desk and a typewriter. People attacked in the showers, which is the only place where fake blood adorns the walls, and it's this violent and graphic scene. The voice I captured just outside of what was the armory, but is now the hospital for the haunted house, seemed to be that of a person saying, "Help me," as if they were in need of saving. If there is something going on there, I think they may be creating their own hauntings. The energy that the haunt season brings, with hundreds of people visiting, screaming and running down the halls, the design and intention that goes into each area and scene may have not only created some of this activity, but also these topos that are known as Alex and Philip. It'll be interesting to see if activity picks up after the season is finished and the building is fully charged. As for the clown, I cannot say that what had happened was paranormal. However, at the same time, I cannot discount Mark, who said there was an entity there named Luther who liked to manipulate the animatronics simply because he was right about so many other things that night. Even if I say I'm ready to completely discount that series of events, the question still remains as to why the clown 2 rooms over went off as I was taking batteries out of the one that had already been going off. I can't say the place is haunted, but there does seem something interesting going on out there. But next, I'm headed to a location that has stuck with me for almost 7 years now, where I had one of my most undeniable paranormal experiences. It is a place that I had not forgotten about, and a story that has been etched into my memory. And finally, I'm getting to go back in search of answers. On the next episode, join me as I travel to Hartford City to revisit a location after nearly 7 years where I had one of my most unexplainable paranormal experiences. Do the spirits of this old historic jail still roam its halls? Will I find the answers to the questions that I've held on to after all these years? Find out as we open up the next chapter of the Dead Chronicles.
Is leaving me tripping and tripping and tripping. We live and we